Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The autumn sun bathed the cozy cafe in warmth, a vibrant contrast to the crisp morning air. In the corner, a figure sat poised, their fingers tapping restlessly on the table. Their ensemble, a light denim skirt and pale pink silk top, perfectly showcased their meticulous effort, a fashion statement crafted to exude confidence and charm. The garb, accompanied by white ballet flats, reflected their meticulous preparation for this pivotal moment. The light fabric of the skirt swayed just above their knees, a delicate balance of sophistication and comfort. Up came an unsteady hand to caress soft brown curls that tumbled around their face. A gentle frame for features subtly enhanced by a natural makeup palette. Foundation, a hint of blush, and a stroke of mascara crafted a look inspired by an online guide aimed at embracing a fresh, authentic aura. Natural, blending in. For years, Raphael had lived behind a careful mask, only allowing Phoebe to exist in private moments, behind locked doors with curtains drawn. But today, Phoebe sat in public view, sipping a latte with trembling hands, waiting for people who had, until now, only existed as usernames and supportive messages on a screen. The crossdressing support group had been a lifeline for months. They'd shared advice, encouragement, and understanding that couldn't be found elsewhere. After weeks of gentle persuasion, they'd convinced Phoebe that meeting in person would be an important step. She had finally agreed, picking this coffee shop 30 miles from home to minimize any chance of running into familiar faces. Phoebe checked her phone again, scanning the coffee shop entrance with nervous eyes. What if they didn't show up? What if they took one look at her and realized she didn't look as feminine as she'd hoped? What if... Phoebe? Looking up, revealed a tall woman with auburn hair wearing a green sundress. She had a warm smile that immediately put Phoebe at ease. Yes, that's me. The voice came out higher than Raphael's natural tone, practiced for hours in the safety of an empty apartment. I'm Diana. We've chatted so much online. It's wonderful to finally meet you in person. She pulled out a chair and sat down without waiting for an invitation, her confident movements something Phoebe immediately envied. The others are parking the car. They'll be here any minute, Diana continued, seemingly unbothered by Phoebe's obvious nervousness. Your hair looks gorgeous. Is that your natural color? Phoebe touched the brown waves self-consciously. Yes, I've been growing it out for almost a year now. It suits you perfectly, and that blouse with the skirt? Inspired choice. You look completely natural. The compliment landed exactly where Phoebe needed it most. The weeks of practicing walking in flats, the hours spent applying and reapplying makeup, the careful selection of clothes that would help her blend in rather than stand out. All of it acknowledged in those simple words. Really? I was so worried about looking obvious. Diana waved a dismissive hand. Trust me, if I didn't already know, I wouldn't have guessed. You carry yourself well. Before Phoebe could respond, two more women approached the table. One was petite, with dark hair cut in a stylish bob, wearing black slacks and a patterned blouse. The other was taller, with shoulder-length blonde hair, dressed in jeans and a casual top. Heather, Monica, this is Phoebe. Diana introduced them. Heather, the one with the bob, immediately gushed. Oh my goodness! Look at you! Your first time out and you already look more put together than I did after months of practice. Monica nodded in agreement. That skirt is perfect on you, and your makeup is subtle but effective. You have good instincts. As they settled around the table, ordering more coffee and pastries, Phoebe felt the knot of tension in her chest begin to loosen. These women understood. They had walked the same path, faced the same fears. "So," Monica asked after they had all received their orders, "how does it feel, being out as Phoebe for the first time?" Taking a moment to consider the question, Phoebe realized that beneath the anxiety was something else, something that felt remarkably like joy. "Terrifying," she admitted. "But also, right? Like I've been holding my breath for years, and I'm finally allowed to exhale." The women nodded in understanding. "The first time is always the hardest," Heather said. "I remember mine. I was so scared I almost threw up in the parking lot. But it gets easier every time, I promise." "Tell us more about yourself," Diana encouraged. "We know the online version, but it's different in person." Over the next hour, the conversation flowed more easily than Phoebe could have imagined. They discussed their journeys, shared makeup tips, and laughed about fashion disasters. Phoebe learned that Diana had been living as a woman full-time for 3 years, that Heather was married to a supportive husband, and that Monica had recently started hormone therapy. "What about you, Phoebe? Where do you see this journey taking you?" Monica asked. The question hung in the air for a moment. It was one Phoebe had avoided asking herself, afraid of the answer. "I'm not sure yet," she replied honestly. "For a long time, I thought this was just something I needed to keep hidden, a secret part of me. But lately, I've been wondering if Phoebe is more than just an aspect of who I am." "Take your time figuring it out," Diana said gently. "There's no rush and no right answer. Some of us are comfortable with part-time expression, and others need more. Whatever feels right for you is valid." The conversation shifted to lighter topics. Heather shared hilarious stories about learning to walk in heels. Monica offered tips for finding clothes that fit well. Diana talked about her experiences with laser hair removal. When the bill came, they decided to extend their meeting with a walk through the nearby park. As they stepped outside, Phoebe experienced a moment of panic. More people, more chances to be noticed, to be judged. "You're doing fine," Diana murmured, noticing her hesitation. "Remember, most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to pay much attention to others." The park was quiet for a Sunday, with just a few families having picnics and couples walking hand in hand. As they strolled along the path, Phoebe gradually relaxed into the rhythm of walking as a woman. Smaller steps, a slight sway to the hips, hands moving differently. All the things she had practiced alone in her apartment, now flowing more naturally. "Your walk is getting more natural by the minute," Monica observed. "That's the thing about being yourself. Your body knows what to do once you let it." They found a bench overlooking a small pond and sat down, continuing their conversation as ducks paddled by, and leaves occasionally drifted down from the trees above. "I have something for you," Heather said suddenly, reaching into her purse. She pulled out a small package wrapped in tissue paper. "A little gift to commemorate your first day out." Touched, Phoebe carefully unwrapped it to find a delicate silver bracelet with a small butterfly charm. "The butterfly is kind of on the nose, I know," Heather laughed. "But it felt right. Transformation and all that." "It's perfect," Phoebe whispered, fastening it around her wrist. "Thank you. All of you. I don't think I could have done this without knowing you'd be here." "We all need support," Diana said. "And now you're part of our little in-person circle. We try to meet up once a month. Would you like to join us again?" The question brought a surge of emotion. These few hours as Phoebe in the company of understanding friends had been more freeing than anything Raphael had experienced in years. The thought of doing it regularly, of having this space to explore and be authentic, was overwhelming. "I'd love that," she managed to say through the tightness in her throat. As the afternoon progressed, they exchanged phone numbers. Real ones, not just the forum messaging they'd relied on before. They made tentative plans for their next meeting, discussing restaurants and shopping trips with the easy camaraderie of friends who had known each other for years rather than hours. When it finally came time to part ways, there were hugs all around. Phoebe, who had arrived that morning filled with dread and anxiety, left with something precious, the knowledge that she wasn't alone and that the world wouldn't end if she allowed Phoebe to exist outside the confines of her apartment. The drive home was quiet, a time for reflection. The light blue skirt and pink blouse that had felt so foreign and conspicuous in the morning now seemed comfortable, almost natural. The butterfly bracelet caught the light as she turned the steering wheel, a tangible reminder of the day's significance. At home, Phoebe didn't immediately change back into Raphael's clothes as she had planned. Instead, she made dinner, watched some television, and went about a normal evening routine while still dressed as herself. It felt like a small act of rebellion against years of hiding. Later, as she carefully removed her makeup, she studied her reflection in the bathroom mirror. The brown hair would stay. She had decided that months ago when she started growing it out. Raphael had told colleagues it was just a style change, brushing off comments with easy jokes. But for Phoebe, it had been the first outward sign of an internal truth she was finally beginning to accept. The next morning brought reality crashing back. Raphael dressed in his usual work attire, slacks, button-down shirt, sensible shoes. The butterfly bracelet was carefully hidden in a jewelry box. But something had changed. The experience of being Phoebe in public, of being seen and accepted, had shifted something fundamental. Throughout the week, Raphael went through the motions of his life as an IT consultant. Meetings, code reviews, polite conversation with colleagues. But in quiet moments, his thoughts drifted to the upcoming monthly meeting with his new friends. He made lists of questions to ask, things to learn. On Wednesday evening, his phone pinged with a message from Diana. "Hope your week is going well. Monica found a great consignment shop with clothes that might work for your frame. Want to check it out before our next brunch?" The text felt like a lifeline, a connection to a part of himself that was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. He responded immediately, agreeing to the shopping trip with an enthusiasm that surprised even him. That night, after dinner, Raphael opened his laptop and navigated to a folder he'd kept hidden for years. It contained research, articles, and personal accounts of people who had transitioned. He had collected them furtively, never allowing himself to consider them as more than abstract information. Now, he began to read them with new eyes, seeing himself in the stories of others who had taken steps toward authenticity. The following Saturday found Phoebe, once again in the light blue skirt and pink blouse, meeting Diana and Monica at a consignment shop tucked away in a quiet shopping center. The owner, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, greeted them warmly. "Diana has told me about you," she said to Phoebe. "I've set aside some items that might work well for you. The changing room is in the back whenever you're ready." The shop was filled with carefully curated second-hand clothing, much of it barely worn. Monica immediately began pulling items from racks, holding them up to Phoebe with a critical eye. "This would bring out your eyes," she said, offering a deep teal blouse. "And these black pants have a cut that would flatter your figure." Diana added a burgundy sweater dress to the growing pile. "For when you're feeling more adventurous." The changing room became a sanctuary of discovery. Each new outfit revealed a different aspect of Phoebe, a different possibility. Some items were immediately dismissed, too young, too flashy, not flattering. Others made her pause, seeing a version of herself she hadn't imagined before. The black pants and teal blouse were a revelation, sophisticated, professional, feminine, without being overstated. The sweater dress, though initially intimidating, hugged her body in a way that created curves where there seemed to be none. "You have to get those," Diana insisted after Phoebe modeled the pants and blouse. "They're perfect for you." "Where would I even wear them?" Phoebe asked, smoothing the fabric with nervous hands. Monica shrugged. "Wherever you want. That's kind of the point, isn't it? Creating possibilities?" By the end of the shopping trip, Phoebe had acquired several new outfits, each one carefully selected to flatter her body and suit her emerging style. The shop owner had been helpful and discreet, offering advice without prying questions. "Come back anytime," she told Phoebe as they paid for their purchases. "We get new items every week." The next brunch meeting was even easier than the first. Phoebe arrived wearing her new black pants and teal blouse, feeling more confident and less like she was playing a part. Heather noticed immediately. "Look at you, all polished and put together. That color is amazing on you." The compliment brought a flush of pleasure. "Thanks to these two," Phoebe acknowledged, nodding toward Diana and Monica. "They're excellent shoppers." Over mimosas and omelets, they discussed their weeks, shared news, and offered support for challenges. Heather was dealing with a difficult colleague. Monica had told her parents about her transition and received mixed reactions. Diana was applying for a promotion at work. When it came to Phoebe's turn, she hesitated before sharing something she hadn't fully articulated even to herself until that moment. I think Phoebe isn't just a part-time thing for me anymore. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of thinking, and I'm starting to believe that I am not just an aspect of who I am, but who I truly am." The words hung in the air, momentous and fragile. Saying them aloud made them real in a way that thinking them hadn't. Diana reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "That's a big realization. How are you feeling about it?" "Terrified, relieved, confused, all of it at once." Phoebe took a deep breath. "I don't know what it means yet, or what I'm going to do about it, but I know I can't keep pretending that Raphael is the real me and Phoebe is just a hobby or something." "Whatever you decide, we're here for you," Monica said. "And speaking from experience, once you start acknowledging your truth, it gets harder and harder to go back to denying it." The conversation continued, with each woman sharing aspects of their own journeys, the doubts, the certainties, the steps forward, and occasional steps back. For Phoebe, it was like listening to different possible futures, each with its own challenges and rewards. As the weeks passed, these brunches became the highlight of Phoebe's life. Each meeting was a chance to be herself completely, to practice and refine her presentation, to learn from women who had walked similar paths. Between meetings, they stayed connected through a group chat, sharing everything from funny memes to serious discussions about gender identity. Gradually, Phoebe began to extend her time presenting as female. What had started as just a few hours for brunch expanded to entire Saturdays, then entire weekends. The apartment became Phoebe's domain, with Raphael's clothes relegated to a single drawer for workdays. 3 months after that first nervous coffee shop meeting, Phoebe sat in the office of a gender therapist, the butterfly bracelet visible on her wrist as she twisted her hands in her lap. She wore a simple navy dress with subtle jewelry, professional, understated, intentional. "What brings you here today?" the therapist asked, her expression open and non-judgmental. Phoebe took a deep breath, drawing strength from all the conversations with her friends, all the research she had done, all the quiet moments of clarity. "I think I've known for a long time, but I'm finally ready to say it out loud. I'm a woman. I've been living as one part-time for months now, and it feels right in a way that living as a man never has. I need help figuring out what that means for my future." The therapist nodded. "That's a profound realization. Tell me more about your journey to this point." As Phoebe spoke, describing the years of hiding, the fear, the gradual steps toward authenticity, and the supportive friends who had helped her find her way, she felt something settling inside her, a certainty that had been building for months, perhaps for her entire life. The therapy session was the first of many. Each one helped Phoebe clarify her thoughts, address her fears, and develop a plan for moving forward. The therapist provided resources, recommendations, and a letter that would eventually help Phoebe access hormone therapy. The decision to transition wasn't made in a single moment, but through a series of small choices, each one bringing her closer to living authentically. The first prescription for hormone replacement therapy, the appointment with an electrologist to begin the long process of permanent hair removal, the gradual changes to her wardrobe, replacing Raphael's clothes with Phoebe's one piece at a time. 6 months after that first meeting with the support group, Phoebe sat at their regular table at the cafe, now a familiar and comfortable place. Her appearance had subtle changes, softer skin, the beginning of breast development from the hormones, a confidence in her movements that came from practice and growing comfort in her own body. "I have news," she announced after they had ordered their usual drinks. She wore a cream-colored sweater with dark jeans, her brown hair now styled in a longer, more feminine cut that framed her face perfectly. "I've decided to transition at work. I've spoken with HR and they've been surprisingly supportive. Next month, Raphael officially becomes Phoebe, full-time." The table erupted in congratulations and questions. How had HR responded? What had they offered in terms of support? How was she feeling about such a big step? "It's scary," Phoebe admitted. "These people have known me as Raphael for years, but continuing to switch back and forth is becoming impossible. I feel like I'm playing a role when I'm at work, and it's exhausting." "You're ready," Diana assured her. "Look how far you've come since that first day when you were afraid to walk through the park." Heather raised her coffee cup in a toast. "To Phoebe, no more part-time living." As they clinked their cups together, Phoebe felt a surge of gratitude for these women who had become so much more than online usernames. They had become guides, confidants, and true friends. They had seen her when she couldn't yet see herself clearly. The transition at work was both harder and easier than she had anticipated. There were awkward moments, confused looks, a few colleagues who struggled with her new name and pronouns, but there was also unexpected support. The team leader who made a point of correctly introducing her in meetings, the younger colleagues who didn't seem to find it remarkable at all, the HR representative who checked in regularly to ensure she wasn't facing discrimination. A year after that first nervous coffee shop meeting, Phoebe hosted a dinner party at her apartment. The table was set for 5. Herself, Diana, Monica, Heather, and Heather's husband, John. She moved around the kitchen with confidence, wearing a flattering dress in her favorite teal color, her brown hair now long enough to pull back into a stylish updo. The apartment had transformed along with her. Gone were the generic furnishings, chosen with little thought. In their place were items that reflected Phoebe's developing taste. Comfortable but elegant furniture, artwork that spoke to her, colors that made her feel at home. As her friends arrived, bearing wine and dessert. Phoebe welcomed them with hugs and genuine smiles. There was no trace of the nervous person who had once adjusted a light blue skirt with trembling hands. In her place stood a woman comfortable in her skin, grateful for the journey that had brought her here. Over dinner, they reminisced about their first meeting, laughing at how far they had all come. Monica had completed her legal name change. Diana had received her promotion. Heather and John were considering starting a family. "I don't think I ever properly thanked all of you," Phoebe said as they finished their meal. "That first day, I was so terrified, I almost didn't show up. If you hadn't been so welcoming, so affirming, I might have gone home and locked Phoebe away forever." "You did the hard work," Monica pointed out. "We just provided a little encouragement." "Sometimes that's all people need," John added. "Just knowing you're not facing something alone can make all the difference." As they moved to the living room for coffee and the dessert Heather had brought, Phoebe caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror over the fireplace. Her reflection showed a woman at ease with herself, surrounded by friends who knew her completely. The butterfly bracelet still circled her wrist, a reminder of transformation and hope. "I have something to show you all," she said, retrieving a small box from a drawer. Inside was a silver pendant in the shape of a butterfly, matching the bracelet Heather had given her a year ago. "I had this made to mark the anniversary. I wanted something to remind me of where this journey began and how far I've come." Diana helped her fasten the necklace, the butterfly pendant resting just below her collarbone. "Perfect," Diana pronounced. "Absolutely perfect." Later, after her friends had gone and the apartment was quiet again, Phoebe stood by the window, looking out at the city lights. She thought about the frightened person who had once sat in a coffee shop, adjusting a light blue skirt and worrying about being noticed. That person seemed both intimately familiar and impossibly distant now. The butterfly pendant caught the light as she touched it gently. Transformation wasn't just about changing from one state to another. It was about becoming who you were always meant to be. The journey wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. But Phoebe faced the future with something she hadn't had before: certainty in who she was and the knowledge that she didn't have to walk the path alone. In the reflection of the window, she saw herself. Brown hair, teal dress, butterfly jewelry. Phoebe. No longer a secret, no longer a part-time expression, but her whole and authentic self. The woman she had always been, now free to live in the light.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!